Alright, y'all, welcome back to Final Boss Auto Hub. And we're back. And I want to have an interesting conversation with you guys. I got some good news about what's happening in the auto industry. You guys probably heard it because you know, real car heads. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper and what does that mean for the car industry. But before we get into the video, if you do hear like different sounds in the video, it's because I got the AC on full blast. We're going through a crazy heat wave here in the city, in the tri-state area of New York, Connecticut, and Jersey. We're feeling it. And also, I'm not using the normal mic that I would normally use because I upgraded my phone, so I got to get a better mic for this phone. So just bear with me for this video. I will try to enhance the sound as much as possible. So enough of that. Let's get into it. So BMW will pretty much keep producing combustible engines, and that's what we want. I mean, all car heads, gearheads are super excited about this. I know I am. And essentially, you know, the BMW CEO Frank Van Mill confirmed that BMW's inline 6 and V8 engines will survive the introduction of a tougher Euro 7 emissions regulations. And better yet, that the two engines or the two motors that they're currently using, which is the straight line 6, which is like BMW's bread and butter, silver heritage, gold heritage, I should say, that's their thing. And their V8 engines, pretty much still got a long history in racing as well, will intend to keep building. So they're thinking about building upon those two engines and the lineage of those engines and continue producing them and putting them in new cars for the time being. I'm gonna read a quote by the CEO, Frank Van Mill. And essentially, Frank Van Mill is saying that, quote, normally if you're in a high performance situation, you are cool using, or you will cool using the fuel. With EU 7s, that's impossible, so you need to find different ways of avoiding temperature buildup. End quote. Open quote, the combustion process has to be improved in regards to heat buildup, and also cooling those cars are challenges. Of course, you can reduce the performance to avoid this temperature increase, but you don't want to, and that's where we started. End quote. So essentially, he's talking about, you know, with the new emissions that the Euro emissions set forth, that it will be hard to keep running their current engine platforms without finding a better way to cool the engines and keep it running efficiently. He said that they're thinking of different ways of doing it. They're coming up with different ways of doing it, and they don't want to reduce the engine's performance in doing so. Which, you know, if they did that, we would be like, F it, like this is dumb. But they're actually trying to figure out ways to work around the EU 7 emission standards to still produce high-performing engines and give it the cooling that it needs and the performance that we want. So I'm excited about that, and my fellow enthusiasts, you should be too. And then he was asked if BMW would consider downsizing to a small 3 or 4 cylinder engine for its M cars, and Van Mill replied, open quote, no. The 6-cylinder inline engine is our legacy, and the V8 has a long history in racing, so we intend to keep doing so and keep going building on those engines, end quote. So at this point in time, I think this is awesome. I think this is where we need to be. I think we should be excited. I think this is great news, especially with what's going on in the world in terms of the auto industry and where we are right now. And in my opinion, I believe this is really great news. We should just be ecstatic about this. At least we know there will still be companies that are still pushing the envelope, still trying to meet emissions or trying to find workarounds and still creating combustible engines that with a soul that will provide the emotion and performance that we want while driving it. If you've been following the auto world lately, there has been some rebellions happening. So you have many different automakers, I should say. They're either going back to combustible engines or at least going back to a hybrid moniker and building combustible hybrid and EVs, just expanding their lines differently to give each of what everybody would want while pleasing the government emissions. And for example, you have like Dodge, they're bringing back SRT, that electric Challenger, nobody wants that. Granted, it's a nice looking car. I think the design language is awesome, a blend of retro with some new, but nobody wants that. People want the V8, they want the Hemis, they want the Scat Packs, they want the SRTs, the Demons, the Hellcats. So now they're bringing back SRT to improve upon those performance. You also have other companies like Chevrolet. They just made the American's first hypercar, excuse me. Tongue twister today, but they made the first American hypercar. That doesn't seem like you're trying to go back in terms of just building straight EVs. It's clearly they're trying to push the envelope and produce and do something different while still doing the EV sector. And then you have Mercedes. I'm hearing that they're pretty much rethinking about that 4-cylinder AMG that they put out. It was the C63 that was 4-cylinder. It didn't do well. Nobody wants it. At first, they try to blame it on the consumer, saying nobody understands the engine, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants a 4-cylinder performance car. They want to hear the car. They want to hear great exhaust sounds. They want to feel alive while driving it. They want to hear the emotions. And that's why the V8 C63s are, an actual crowd favorite. Even BMW M guys have to be like, that's a nice sounding car. It's a great performance. So what I'm hearing, Mercedes is starting to rethink about that too. But the whole point of me bringing up those examples is that, we ultimately dictate where this auto industry goes as consumers. If we're not buying something, they gotta figure out ways around it, and eventually it will start to affect the government, and then the government will have to start making concessions. I'm all for saving this planet. I'm cool with EV cars. I'm cool with hybrids. I just don't like the fact that now that I'm older and I want to get some of my dream cars or get a car that I really like, I can't get it because you guys want to start bringing in EV cars, and I'm sure many of us feel this way. It's not just me. So I feel like there's a workaround for all of this, whether it's going hybrid, whether it's going turbo to keep emissions where it needs to be. I'm all for that, but let's keep going where we're going. And I hope this trend continues with automakers continue to produce combustible engines and don't completely kill their entire lineup for EV sectors. And this is something I spoke about in my previous videos. For any of the OG subscribers that are here, I'll put the video up here for the new folks. I did a few videos about where the auto industry is going and for what I'm reading and in the research that I'm doing. So I'll put it up. You can take a quick listen, which you could probably start your research if you're interested in things like that. But other than that, guys, I have some good news. I'm in the middle of relocating. I'm about to bring out some new segments I think you guys would like, and I think that will help the channel eventually. And just stay tuned. Tell your friends, tell your mom, your daddy, your grandpappy, whoever is interested in car channels and YouTube, that I'm here and I'm trying to do some pretty good content. So, keep following. I'm going to keep those shorts coming as well. I have more videos coming this week and next week. Just keep following, like, subscribe, comment, or tell me what you want to see, and we go from there. And I'm all for the debates. Let me know. All right? So thank you for tuning in, and Final Boss Auto Hub out.